Race 5 of the BMW IBSF Bobsleigh and Skeleton World Cup Series. For two-man bobsleigh, we're in Sigulda, Latvia, the first part of a double race weekend on this short, tight Latvian track. Hello everybody, welcome back to our coverage of the second and deciding heat of the first race of the weekend, this New Year's Day 2022. 20 sleds go in our second heat, and spoiler alert, John Morgan, no Francesco Friedrich in our top three highlights reel.
Yeah, Benny Maier, who's got two seventh-place finishes in the last two events. He's much better in the four-man. He's top three in the World Cup standings there. But in two-man, he went early. I said it was going to be a seventh or eighth place run. Boy, was I wrong. He's in third. And not far off of Gaitiukevich here from Russia, who's got one World Cup medal so far. This is one of the breakout drivers of the season, and he's got some medals on the World Cup four-man. Skid there might have prevented him from being atop of the leaderboard. He did have some skids coming down the track, but he likes it. I don't blame him. But here's the guy they're chasing, Team Brad Hall. Well, the last time the British have led the first heat of a World Cup, I don't know, Mr. Haven, you might tell me better. Or the last British sled to win a World Cup, I think we had to go back a long ways, but Brad Hall's in the lead, not by much, 100th of a second.
Yeah, look at that top three. 600s covers the podium. Friedrich 1700s back. He can overcome that disadvantage, but will he? But look at that, how tight it is. Friedrich back down to, let's say, Tentea in 11th is just a 10th of a second. This is going to be a super tight race. We've got a tie for 12th position. We've got near ties all the way down the field. And we also have a tie for 18th. So, Kaichi of China made the second run. Unfortunately, Ivo de Bruyn and Marcus Treichel did not. Dominic Dvorak did not start today. Suspect that may be a COVID test-related issue, as they did train and were expected to race. What about Hansi Lochner? Well, he's got an opportunity to make up some ground in the World Cup standings as well. 3 silver medals here last year behind this man, who has been undefeated in 2021 in all races of all kinds, World Championship, World Cup, two-man and four-man. But Francesco Friedrich, with work to do after a mistake at the start from himself, saw them hit the wall. Last time Francesco was not in the top 2 of a two-man race, November 2017. Correct. 12th place in Whistler. He'd had 9th places in the 2 races in Lake Placid the 2 weekends before. So here we go. Kaichi will be first off in our top 20. And boy, if we have Benny Maier, Rostislav Gaitiukevich or Brad Hall on the top step of the podium, we will have a first-time two-man World Cup winner. So all to play for, not just for the top, but for everybody here. Tiny gaps in this field, the biggest of which perhaps is Kaichi chasing down his teammate Lee Chun-chan, who will be next up. Sun and brakeman Shihao were in 20th place after the first of our 2 heats.
Yeah, the start time in the first run, not that bad, but Martin, they've been getting better every single race, but they probably haven't spent too much time on this track, this short 1,200-meter track that's got a lot of tight, quick turns, and people don't realize that we're doing two-man again tomorrow because they don't do four-mans on this track. We're doing 2 four-man races next week in Vinterberg.
Well, we've got 100 kilometers now from Kaichi, which is about where he was in the first heat. That was kind of late, but he held on to it. 1:13.9. We'll see 1:15 at the bottom and 1:25 and change from the fastest sleds here. It's looking like a pretty similar run to his first heat, which was a 52.9. That's a 50.04. He was third out of the start shed in the first heat.
The women's Monobob race, they were all going faster by 1 second. Yeah. Of course, that was in the morning. Temperatures are soft. We started to see the track at late in the first run start to get a little frosty. But he's the rabbit. He's got the best ice. That crossover of 11-12. You're going to see a lot of these pictures. That's beautiful. That was a nice line he had there. He steered pretty hard coming off that. Look at the runners are still steering there. You know, when you have this much control, you put the flag out and say, too much steering. But hitting the wall there, I don't think I have to tell you much. But no Chinese flag on the sled. We'll have to bust Pierre Lueders about that. That's I think they get fined if they don't have a
fined if they don't have a BMW logo. I'm not sure if you get fined for not having a national flag on it, but they are our first sled down. There you can see the Chinese national emblem. Lee Chun-chan with Ding Song, the tall figure who's brakeman behind him. And Ding, 25 years old, as is his driver. Like their teammates, they have never raced here before. And of course, the advantage of bringing them here is that it's a double race weekend, so there's twice the two-man learning. So really helps to sharpen up their two-man skills in this fast run into the Winter Games.
494 in the first run, which is the 13th best start. Now, you know, there's a race within a race. China will get 2 sleds or 1. So do they get 2 sleds at the Olympics?
Yeah, I think they get 2.
So, and there's a couple guys around the World Cup, the North America circuit that I watched that were almost a pretty good starter. So it's got 1000ths in the bank, but this curve coming up right here, 11-12. This is pretty good there. That's a great straightaway with the best speed. So barring some kind of jinx by the commentator, he should be the leader.
Well, Sun is by far the better ranked of the two. He's in 20th points in the overall rankings, and Lee is in 29th place. He's
2,600 better, much better second than Martin.
Only 30 points behind, but with only 4 races remaining, 3 after this, he's can be doing really well to overhaul that. So Sun and Lee in that order in the World Cup standings.
Drifted a little bit here, but you know, geez, came pretty straight. Both track and field athletes. The brakeman's a javelin thrower. Driver was a sprinter. Tap, not bad. Well, better than most. He really came straight there. So he did well in the straightaways, Martin.
That's equals the 12th best time of the competition so far, and he was 18th in the first heat, tied with Cody Bascue from the USA, with Carlo Valdez. Well, their start was a little disappointing by their standards, 495.
Yeah, they got a top 5 start, these guys, at the Innsbruck event, the first event of the year. He was the first guy down. He posted the second best time of the heat. Fell a little bit at the start of the second run and ended up 5th. But I said, wow, this is going to be a good season for Cody. He's missed 2 cuts. Yep. So he's, I don't know, got into a slump, doldrums, but...
5:01, that's an even slower start. That's 500 slower than their first.
I mean, what is, maybe we don't know something here. He's hurt, but this looked a lot more promising for this young upstate New York kid who's got a lot of experience, you know, coming off a top 10 at the Olympics and 4-man last Olympics out. And, you know, shouldn't be back here in this position, Martin. And boy, if he doesn't move, find a better line, he's going to fall behind both. Look at the try and get control. He's going to fall behind both Chinese sleds.
And struggling for a place in the Olympic squad as well, Cody. This is his, we understand, final World Cup race of the season. He'll be racing in Europe Cup after this. 50.03 is the run.
Can't believe they're getting that start time. Carlo Valdez, one of the most experienced brakemen the U.S. have, and they shouldn't have that start. He's just, Cody knows he's going to the Europa Cup.
I think, yeah.
It sort of says it all, you know. And, but Frank Del Duca will be coming up, and you'll see him next week in Winterberg, Germany. The season looks so promising for him. I don't know what happened, but the starts. Missing cuts. Look at the check in the runners. Whoa.
Well, Del Duca, of course, has made all his points in North America, tracks where he learned his art. So when he comes to Europe, that might be a slightly different experience. We'll wait and see. Petri Baumgartner next up. He had 600s in hand over Lee Chun-chan after the first of our 2 heats. Lee, the current leader, by a 10th from Cody Bascue. So can't afford any slip-ups here either, the young Italian.
He's driving that sled. Nobody's confirmed where the shed is. If the Belgians have rented the sled, leased it to them, or if they sold it. Because we've talked about they're always driving red Ferrari sleds. Yeah, Ferrari red sleds, and this looks like it's going to be, at least for the season, but as I said before, Martin, when we see this sled at the Olympic Games, it'll be Ferrari red.
Well, whatever we see will definitely be red. Best speed of all, and only a whisker behind. Should creep in front of Lee by the next clock. That's a decent exit.
Watch out, though. 400
He had good speed.
Yeah, he went earlier.
He is the fastest at the bottom. He's not going to get him, is he? 125.1. It's not quite enough. It's not quite enough. Lee moves up again.
The Chinese know how to celebrate in the winner's box. They still show some emotion, but Baumgartner's been getting better with this sled, Martin. He had a couple 13th-place finishes in the last 2 times out.
Career high World Cup result, a 7th place here in race 1 last season. Race 1 of 4 here.
So the Lee from China's moved up twice, 2 spots now. So watch the crossover here. Watch the back end of the sled on the changeover here. Beautiful. Little error in the runner, but he got on the takeout on his terms, which allows him to get off the curve on his terms, but he had the skid here, a little late.
There is a potential that Lee might move up another couple of spots, actually, and he is behind teammate Sun Kaichi in overall points. This could make a big difference, could close him right up. Next up is Maxim Andrianov with rookie Dmitry Lopin, who was basically having a tourist ride down, kept popping his head up during the run. I suspect possibly there might have been some Russian words from the coach about that. Andrianov 1200ths ahead of Lee Chun-chan, our current leader from the first heat, and that is just 1 error away. 494, can't start faster than the Chinese.
Well, he doesn't get good starts, Martin. He doesn't get good results in 2-man because of it, but you know, he's been around. He's a veteran. I mean, his best finish is the 14th last time out. And, you know, that mishap by the brakeman in the first heat cost him 10/100ths, I bet. That's 3 or 4 spots.
He was here 2 weeks
killing
ago.
it in training.
Yeah, well, he was here 2 weeks ago in Europa Cup, finished in 3rd and 1st in the field there. Best speed of all, so he's staying in front of Lee, and in fact, although the gap's coming down, doesn't quite have the speed of Lee at the bottom. He'll be the leader by 2/10.
Yeah, he had the best time of the run, Martin, and he's 2200ths better than his first run. You know, he should be a couple of spots better, you know, but his brakeman...
a top 10 run in the first heat.
Yeah. And his brakeman
sticking the helmet
stayed down. Yeah, so the brakeman stayed down. You know, he was well cursed out, I'm sure, when he got to the top. Because the first thing those coaches do is they go to the monitor and they watch the run. Great profile there by the brakeman. And in the first heat, we saw him popping his head up here.
Yeah.
And don't think that's not disrupts the air as it flows out of the back.
There may well have been a sniper there, just in case, in the second heat. Get down, stay down, wait for the driver to yell. It's, you know, it's not a sightseeing run. Okay, so Maxim Andrianov and Dmitry Lopin take the lead. Emils Cipulis and Ivo Kleinbergs next for Latvia. They were the very first sled to get this competition underway a couple of hours ago. 7th best start, but only 15th at the bottom.
Thought he'd do better. I really thought he'd do better.
Well, he's not the only Latvian who has struggled today on this track.
Just really bothersome that, you know, after the Latvians went 1-2 yesterday, men's skeleton with Thomas Dukars winning for the first time in 18 years when he did it on this track 18 years ago. But you figured the Latvian Bob guys would have the same success. I mean, you know, Oskars Melbardis, Thomas Driskins, the gold medalists from the 2014 games. You know, we saw Zintas Itmanis at the bottom. He was the the first ever Russian to win an Olympic medal in 1984 in Sarajevo. He's at the bottom of the track. Of course, he was Latvian, but then he was Russian. But,
well, yeah, less Russian and more Soviet, and that's the distinction, isn't it? You know, Zhukov was
correct myself. Yeah.
Zhukov was the first Russian initially to claim an Olympic gold. Of course, then it all kind of went wrong for him. 49.78 compared to 50.04. Right, 49.78.
There's Kibermanis right there.
Yeah.
There's the first ever.
49.78 is the 5th fastest trip down the track today. That's better.
Yeah, so there's our friend Zintis right there. Again, him and his teammate, Janis Kippers. Kippers went on to win the gold medal for the USSR in 1988. Of course, they were Latvians then. And, of course, these are Russians and Latvians competing now.
Yeah.
Pretty good line. This looks like a better drive for him, Martin, in the second run.
Better all the way down. I mean, far fewer mistakes. And the sled making far fewer skids as well. So do they make a slight adjustment? You can't change the runners, but you can change the way the sled is set to suit the weather. You know, as in NASCAR, as in everything else, sometimes you end up chasing the track. Emos Cipulis leads for Latvia. Yun Jong-won, our Olympic four-man silver medalist from Pyeongchang, in perhaps the final few weeks of his side in Korea. 14th place, 0.08 of an advantage.
They hit the wall here at the start in the first run, Martin. He didn't do it this time, 496, couple hundred slower. But Martin, he came out of a late position, and he had the second best speeds on the bottom.
Yeah.
Very impressive down the track. So let's see, he didn't have the start mishap this time. So he's 500, that's relative to the start deficiency. And if he does what he did in the first heat, he could move up a couple spots.
Here we go.
Comes. 100 back. All right, here we go.
Yeah.
This is some really good eyes and hands on this Korean athlete. 600, the legendary silver medal he won in four-man bobsledding, the first Asian, the first Korean ever to win a bobsled medal. Twilight of his career, great run, 49.81, 1500's better. I don't know if that's going to move him up, but it's close, Mark. I mean, the next 3 or 4 sleds aren't separated by much. He's 300s behind the next 2 sleds.
Yeah. It's going to be a real dogfight, isn't it? And that's before we get into the top 12, where all bets are off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This guy's will be a legend forever in the sport with that unbelievable medal, silver medal in four-man. You know, Martin, we talk about, he won the 2015-16 two-man World Cup title, and he won the event in Königssee. You know, beating Germans in Königssee, doesn't happen too often.
Good days.
Yeah,
good days. Right. Yeah, those are good days.
Yeah. Look at the eyes. I mean, he's had a great career. He'll probably go on to train a lot more Koreans.
Yep. Well, he was, Yun Jong-won, 3,200s out of lead. Now, normally, that might even be a top 6. Here, that only left him 14th, because 2,900s cover the top 13 sleds. Christoph Hafer with Hafer and Ammour tied for 12th with Hunter Church. So the first job is to get ahead of one. The second job is to break that tie.
700 slower at the start, Martin. That is not the way to try and move up. I mean, this guy just got a break coming off a medal. He was on the podium at the last event in Altenburg, which of course is a little bit longer, a little bit different track, but he's going to need perfect lines here to go ahead of the Korean. He's got great speed there, though. He's an athlete that came from luge, Martin. This is more of a luge track than a bob track.
Well, he's a bronze medalist on this track in the first race of last year's quad, or 4 races at least.
He better, he's doing it. He's coming back, only 500. Could do it, maybe. No, by 100. Oh, that's painful. Ready speed.
That's Ready speed.
Painful. But the start time did him in, Marge. 500 slower. You can't, when you got a bad start, you can't go 500 slower.
Yeah.
Excuse me, 200 slower. I'm sorry, 200 slower. But still, you got to go faster in the second run. 1 or 200's better. The lines, everybody taps this right here. Well, he's a little late there, though. He taps, double tap.
Yeah.
Here, boy. A little bit of this, yeah, big skid going into the big left there. That cost him, Martin. That's where the 100th went.
And the rest.
Uphill, going uphill in a gravity sport, skidding like that. Well, there might have been 10 hundredths there. Not a good run. Yeah, he bangs his head in frustration. But
yep.
A medal last
it all
time.
In replay. Luckily, he can't hear us.
Yeah.
He doesn't need beating up. He beats himself up more than we ever will do, that's for sure. Hunter Church and Chris Hall next up then. 16th at the start with a 4.95. A little quicker than Hafer. Came down 12th quickest.
Now, they do themselves a favor by going 100 faster, like a 4.94 here. I mean, Chris Horn, the big decathlete in the back from Massachusetts, 4.97. But he's got 200s, you know. Hunter went early in the heat. And, you know, this is one of his best performance at two-man so far is an 18th in Altenburg. So this could be his PB of the year. And only one.
No races here before this weekend. So 6 practice trips. This is his 8th run down the track. Best speed. Tied with Patrick Baumgartner. In fact, faster than Baumgartner.
He's going to need the best speed, Martin. Ooh, the crossover there. It used to be perfect here. 500
it's
back.
It's the skids that kill you here. 8th best speed, good height, decent exit.
He could drop 2 spots here, 3 spots if he's not careful. 9th best speed. He's going to drop a number of spots. 5th,
behind Andrianov, down to 5th place.
I think that's the worst time of the heat. That just can't put 2 heats together. So 18th was his best finish.
Again, no experience on this track. He's had 2 days of training runs.
He's going to finish 15th, so it will be his best finish of the season, but could have helped himself out by not posting the 9th best time of the run.
Well, the good news is he gets to come back and learn a bit more tomorrow and try again,
PB's personal best, that's all you want. Everybody comes out, wants to do better than they've ever done before. He came out of that curve too early, went back up in the outlet. And here, look at the right, bang. And now he goes into this big sweeping left, not stable. A lot of steering, a lot of up and down. That's not the fastest way to the bottom.
Hey guys, come back tomorrow.
Doubles your learning. Next up, Mihai Tentea of Romania now. He was in 11th place, a quarter of a second off the lead. 24 hundredths off and 5 hundredths ahead of, beg your pardon, 7 hundredths ahead of Yun Jong-won of Korea.
Well, he's 23 years old, Martin. Every year we talk about him being the youngest driver in the field, and he's still the youngest driver in the field. He's been sliding since I think the first time we saw him, I think, was the 17 World Championships.
I'm thinking that's right, yeah.
It was like
that was his first time in the big stage.
He just came out of nowhere, and the Romanians put him in because he'd been on the Europa Cup tour. But a 17-year-old driver, here he is, and he can drive. He gives up time at the start.
He's going to lose ground here. Yun Jong-won continues to rise up the leaderboards. He had good speed lower down, but it's not as good this time, I don't think, is it in the first heat.
That is 7th place finish.
Tidy.
This isn't very
Top
good.
6. Yeah, 4th place, drops by 1,500. But John, it was such a tight group here. So close together, all these sleds.
Yeah, Martin, he went slower by 1,600s. Everybody else was going faster by 10 or 1,500s, all the sleds in front of him. So, not happy. You know, when you get the deficient start, you can't, it's tough to hit a home run every time you come down the track. When you have an average or deficient start, this was not a home run. This was probably a strikeout. And, you know, this is the normal tap there. Look at the runners. Those look pretty good. You know, he's checking him, and he's feathering himself down the straightaway nicely. But, you know, really hard to see where it went away, Martin. There's not a lot not a lot of steering mishaps.
Again, maybe it's just the setup not quite going right. 20th World Cup start for Mihai Tentea, and he currently lies in 4th with 10 sleds remaining. Yun Jong-won is the leader. He starts his climb up the leaderboard from 14th spot. He's with 10 to go. So, little commercial pause on the track, and that allows everybody to head off for their station breaks. But it does mean that here, all the coaches watching the monitor up in the start area can see the sled sort of circling around behind them.
Yeah, they got to go 5 stories up in an elevator. There's our leaders.
Yun Jong-won on the left-hand side of the screen. On the right-hand side, Kim Jin-soo, his brakeman. Go to the, there's the elevator. Go to the IBSF Facebook page. You'll find some of the social media clips there. There's a great one. They left a spy camera, not so much a spy camera because it's evident, but a camera in the elevator during the training days. So you'll see an awful lot of messing around in the elevator, and suddenly people spot the camera, either play up to it, ignore it, or embarrass their friends. It's always good value.
You know, Mr. Kibermanis is coming up. You know, talk about athletes who are on top of the leaderboard. Brad Hall, Gaitiukevich, they're like peaking. You know, what a great season they're having. Kibermanis, one of the favorites in the field. I've been saying it all season. I don't understand why he's back in this position. You know, he's just... It's perplexing to me.
And you know what? The look on his face and the look of the coaches, I don't think they understand it any better than you or I. Well, there are the leaders. I mean, one is starting to turn his season around, isn't he? He is actually finding the mojo a little bit again.
Yeah, he'll probably get better starts. And, you know, he could be a top 10 finisher at the Olympic Games.
Yeah. And he won't match necessarily the glory days of Pyeongchang, but home Olympic Games, as every athlete knows, don't come around too often in a career. So if you get one and you take a medal, oh boy, that's the day of days. 10 sleds to go, race 5 of the BMW IBSF two-man bobsleigh World Cup. Runners are on the ice for our 10th fastest man in the first of our 2 heats. Oscar's Kibermanis, brakeman Dove Springs behind him. Is that a change? Davis wasn't on the... Yes, he was. Beg your pardon. Suddenly forgotten who was in the first heat. So Dove Springs, his 20th World Cup start. Kibermanis, his 69th in two-man alone. A 2-time winner here. He's also got 3 silver medals in 8 starts on this track in World Cup races, but 10th, it's not a great day so far.
Now the best start so far, but Martin, usually he's down, you know, 500-600's better start than that. He's a former decathlete, his profession, he's a firefighter. You know, and he hasn't finished in the top 10 yet this year, Martin, and this is a guy top 3 or 4 in the World Cup points last season. So,
but his best result last year was 1 4th place here, and then a couple of 3 6th places.
But he doesn't even have a top 10. 12th, I think, is his best. And he's 11th best speed on his home track. Wow. I just don't get it. He'll be up. All I can do to finish ahead of Juan here.
Yeah, I think he's going red at the line. He somehow finds it at the line. Doubles the lead from 200.
Look at Sanders Bruce's. Sanders, I agree. I don't get it, Sanders. No. Don't get it. The equipment, the starts. Look at the body language. On his home track, you know, I mean, this is a big sport in Latvia. This is the #1 TV sport, other than that thing called basketball. But and hockey's a big sport here. But
hockey, yeah.
I just don't get why. He's got the equipment. He's got the experience. He's won 1 World Cup medal in 4-man so far this year. And what's wrong with these lines? Other than maybe he's steering too much, Martin. I don't know. Not letting it go. Hope he comes out of the slump. He's an athlete. Yeah. You just, you know, another one of those decathletes. There's 3 more coming up in the next 6 or 8 sleds.
And the start's not a million miles away, you know. 489 is pretty competitive. Same start that Mikkel Vogt and Luca Rolli got. Rolli in his first World Cup race. Former brakeman for Timo Röner. Mikhail Vogt tied with Oskars Kibermanis, or Kibermanis tied with Vogt more accurately in the first heat. 493, they find a little extra.
Time. Yeah, they got better.
Oh no, hang on a minute, 93, they went backwards.
Yeah.
Oh!
Mistake.
Pretty hard transition.
7, 8, 9, and 10 in his 4 starts, Martin. So he's, you know, he's a little outside the norm. And he's going to have to find some quick time down here, or he's going to fall behind.
He was a silver medalist here last year.
Or was that Friedel, or was that Friedel or him?
No, that was Mikhail Vogt and Sandro Michel.
Doesn't look good.
No.
Oh, 4 spots. Wow.
Yeah. 1800s drops you 4 spots. That's again, tight group.
Not a good run.
First 4 sleds at the moment are covered by 900s. Kibermanis, 1, Hafer and Cipulis, 900s covering them. And he is 900s behind Cipulis, so drops down to currently 5th place with 8 to go.
7th best start in the first run. Shouldn't be back of the pack, especially if you've got a silver medal, you know, under your belt from the previous year.
Yeah.
So, ooh, really high there. But we've seen some high sleds, and look at how you come out of there from that high curve. That was not a lot wrong with that.
Well, last year he was in fine form. There were 4 races here. He got 2 bronzes and a silver. 1 8th place run was his worst, and that was a very off-form first run, or 3rd race it was, first of the 2nd weekend. Well, here's Roman Heinrich with Dorian Hauterville, and they, like one, are starting to turn things around. No more Mr. Outside the top 10 for him at the moment. If that's not the commentator's curse, I don't know what is. 493, only the 12th fastest start.
Yeah, but he drove himself into his top 10 position.
Yeah.
So he's been doing it, Martin. He's been coming on. 496. You know, well, he had a 493 in the first run. Start track up a little slower up there because everybody's off.
I wonder if it is. Almost everybody's a little stuck. Oh, a little clip from 3 to 4 as well. So giving away the speed early on. He'll be 1200s back at the next clock. And
Martin,
more,
the first
probably.
race of the year, he did not even qualify for the 2nd run, 22nd.
Yeah.
The last 2 races, 9th and 8th, it's coming on. You know, he's better.
He's getting back to where he should have been, isn't he?
Ooh, that's going to cost him dearly. 2nd best speed, but that's not going to be the 2nd best speed next clock. Last clock, there's no judges
in the lead, and at the line, 900s ahead of Kibermanis. And what was the advantage from the first heat? 400s. Yeah.
He loves it too. Another top 10. Look at him. He's had some great results with that start time.
It's just coming back. Now he's got the feel again. The timing is there. Well, his career high here is a 6th place finish.
Bang, everybody taps there.
Oh, yeah.
Look at the runners here. Let's see if he steered off here. Friction, yep. We got a lot of friction there. Double tap, then another tap. Boy, Martin, he was fast in the bottom, even with that mistake. I thought he would drop, and he pulled away in the bottom.
Yeah, well, that was a pretty clean run into 16, and that really makes a big difference. So Roman Heinrich leads with 7 to go as we get to Francesco Friedrich and Alexander Schueller. They won together. Their very first race was here in Sigulda 4 years ago. They won gold then, and Schueller has barely been off the podium since.
First run, they made a mistake at the start. Let's see if he gets in quicker. They did it again.
Even worse, even worse.
Wow. Wow. This guy hasn't finished worse than 5th in the last 4 years. He's won 22 straight races still in the format. He didn't lose a race in the whole calendar year of 21. And he's going to maintain his position.
He has not been off the podium since November 2017. That's not out of the top 2.
Oh, he's late there.
Yeah.
Wow.
He is human. The same, he is human, 7th best speed. It all went away. He told me here a couple of years ago, I said, what's the secret to this track? He said, don't hit anything before turn 3.
Wow. Wow.
6th best run. That is a day when you beat Friedrich in a straight fight. Torsten Margis with a little flicker of the eyebrows, thinking that this double race weekend might be where Margis and Schueller finally decide who gets the two-man slot in the games.
I mean, he's got the same attitude now as when he wins. Look.
Yep.
Oh, well, made a mistake. This is what they did in the first run. Hey, take one less step, Alex, and get in there. Look, the sled's now steering to the left. Those are his marks from the first heat in there. And then the skid into the, look at this.
Look at that.
Wow. How
I don't think I've ever seen a sled, even the Monobobs looked more under control than that. And here, yeah.
Wow. So he is human, but for 2021, didn't lose a race. Oh, he almost tipped over there too. Wow. Martin, it's a new year.
Yep. Well, put it down to experience. You learn more when you're losing than when you're winning, they say. And he learns plenty when he's winning. So, field is open now for Justin Cripps and Ryan Sammer. What can Cripps do on this track? He has been in the medals here, took a bronze medal in 2020's races.
Push bar came out late, little skid there too, 490. He had 400s.
10th best velocity.
Yeah, there's some issues here. I like Ryan Sammer in the back. He fights fires in the summertime for his profession.
Only his 4th two-man World Cup start for Cripps. This is race 74 at the front end of a two-man sled. 6th best speed. Gaps going away. Was 800ths over Heinrich. Heinrich's going for a top 6 finish here, I think. Cripps steadies the ship, but the speed is not as good as the French sled, I don't think. It's going to be very close, John.
Looks good. Those are great lines there into the finish. Good lines. Have it. Yeah,
take the lead by 8.
Those bottom part of the track, he got things together.
Yeah.
But the velocity up top for the start, that was off too, Martin. He had the 4th best start, like 8th or 9th velocity.
Yeah. Ryan Sammer shakes his head. Well, they have the lead with 5 to go, so guaranteed a top 6 finish for Justin Cripps.
Watch him get in. If they let this sled go now, you're going to see they're out in the drive line, out of the drive lines now. Now watch the left side. See that marks on those walls? That's a couple times. He hit there too.
Yeah, front and back.
He got in, and the push bar
is
commit. He made a mistake there too, but not as drastic as Friedrich made. Not once, but twice. And that wasn't bad. That wasn't bad.
Well, that's how he kept the speed together.
Yeah, on the bottom.
Yeah, there you go.
Not happy.
Yeah, it's the start. Him and Francesco, it's the start. So, 5 to go. Justin Cripps leads. Here is Simon Friedli for Switzerland. And Friedli with a silver medal on this track a couple of years ago. 20th and then 2nd silver medalist in the European Championships in February 2020. Not last year, last season, 9th, 6th, 3rd, crashed. Oh, clips the wall as well.
He had an 88 start in the first run with a few sleds to improve in the second run to 87. Didn't have good velocity. That was related to him touching the wall.
Yeah. But he had better velocity than Cripps, and he's opened up a 100th advantage to 1000ths, to 1400ths. Better speed than Cripps. Here we go.
Yeah, he medaled on this track. He medaled on this track, Martin, and there's not separation between him and the sleds to come, but that's not going to help.
He's had a bronze and a silver on this track. Is he going to get a medal this year? Both the medals previously were with Greg Jones behind him.
Not very good. Oh, he lost it all.
Gave it away. Pinball Wizard out of the final corner when he had it all won. Hit the wall on both sides.
Yeah. Well, entering the finish curve, he made his mistake. He had 1200ths in the bank. Looked like he was accelerating away, Martin, and then one mistake. and lost a spot. Look at the runner. He's steering hard there to come off. Now look at this skid. Look at the friction. Look at the runners. Look at this. Look at the spray coming up on the runners. He corrected well, but boy, there was a long...
straightened up by the wall, but good height.
High there, but, you know, watch him come down. Now watch the outlet here if they give us that picture. On the outlet, he dives out. Looks like he steered too much there. That's caused a tail spin on the outlet. And then this straightaway here, he gets into a little tiff. Oh, that looks good there.
Yeah. But that big hard steer out of 15, that caused the loss of speed. So Justin Cripps leads, 4 to go. And Cripps just 400s behind Hansi Lochner. Lochner with Paul Krentz making his first start behind the Bavarian, having been brakeman for Nico Volter during Nico's career up to the 2020 World Championships.
They need a better start. 87 in the first run. They should get at least that. 91. Boy. Hansi, the second World Cup points right now. He had a disastrous 10th place in Altenburg. You think he'd want to come out here and, you know, with Friedrich out of the picture, he's got a great chance.
He had the third best velocity, and he's immediately opening up the gap over Cripps. He needs to keep this clean. Best speed still.
As it should be. This is the most accomplished guy with the best results. Second World Cup point. This should be his race. That's not going to help. Nice
Two
speed.
silver medals here are his best results from last season.
I don't think he's going to do it.
Best speed.
Cripps has got him. Cripps has got him.
He does. Justin Cripps leads with 3 to go.
How many times has Cripps come from the back to win a medal?
Yeah, Justin might try laying down a good run in the first heat as well. You know, lead from the front. He just likes hanging out in the leader's box and making the others sweat.
Hansi, I know.
Morgan, Bis Morgan, back tomorrow for another go.
Martin, when was the last time a German wasn't on the podium in two-man bobsleigh? Come on,
I haven't got time to look. Too much going on. That's for another day. We'll come back with that tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah.
That was his real fault right there, but here, ooh, that was a skid there. And then that compounded down here a little bit. How's he going to this next finish curve? There's the answer. Tap before he gets in. Now we're in the uphill section. This is a gravity sport. He's not doing good with his going straight.
All right, this is where it gets serious. Wearing Donat Molderman's helmet, Benny Maier with Marcus Sammer behind him. So Benny lying in third place. Top 3 John covered by 600ths of a second. This is anyone's race right now. We could have a first-time winner on our hands.
486, 300s better than his first run. Now, I don't know how many World Cup two-man medals he's won, Martin. He's second World Cup points in four-man.
5.
Seventh is all he's got. So seventh is all he's got this season.
He has 5 bronze medals in his career in two-man. This is his 5th World Cup here. Didn't race last season. Best result here, a bronze in 2018. He's got the lead over Justin Cripps.
Got a big lead, 2300s. I can't see him throwing away 2300s on the bottom of this track.
Speed's not as good. Not as good as Andrianov, possibly as good as Cripps. 0.2 of a second, it is enough. He's in the medals. Yeah. Okay, so Cripps is second, Maier leads.
Hey, the start time
for now is not going to breathe for the next 4 minutes, is he?
300s better at the start, Benny. Marcus Sommer.
Yeah, what did I do? He's asking Ilko, the cameraman, what did I do? And Ilko's giving him a thumbs up with his spare hand.
Same exact time as the first run, 49.70. Look at how low he is. Look at his eyes. Yeah. He's looking on either side of that point. This guy is a real student of the game. He's one of the few guys that can take apart the sled, put it back together on his own. He's been that way since he emerged about 7-8 years ago. He's a 19-year-old, and good day for Benny Maier. Great way to start the season.
Yes.
Miss you guys. Can't wait to see you.
All right, 2 to go. None of our top 3 in the first heat have won a 2-man gold medal. Rostislav Gaitiukevich, 100th off the lead, 500s in hand over Benny Maier.
You know, he's got 1 medal in his World Cup 2-man career, Martin, this season, and the start 482. That's certainly going to help. It's exactly what he had in the first run, and he got through there with the best velocity out of curve 1. That's where we saw Friedrich make his mistake and a few others. 1700th up. This is one of the emerging stars on the circuit.
And this sled was fast, John. He made mistakes, but he had great speed.
Skidding the whole way, right here. But
Is the track frosting up, though?
Oh, late there, really late. This is much better than his first run, Martin. 19th best speed, though.
Well, let's ignore that. 1900s is the gap. He's still got it in hand.
Not gonna do it. I don't think he's gonna do it.
He's going to be in the lead by 17.
Well, that was a weird shot.
Yeah.
Wow. 49.58. He's 700s better.
Okay, that is a career best. He has 2 bronze medals in 2-man, 2 bronze medals in 4-man. This will be his first ever silver medal at least. No wonder he is stoked.
Martin, I say he's the rising star in the sport. He's the guy's had a breakout season. The only other person that can challenge the breakout season is the guy coming up next, Brad Hall of Great Britain. But this was a much better run, Martin. Remember the first heat, he was skidding down every straightaway. I mean, the sled was, you know, this was perfect lines, but the speeds, I don't understand those speeds.
All right, a nervous wait in the leader's box for Brad Hall and Greg Cackett to complete their run. A first ever for Brad Hall, last out of the changing room. So plenty to think about. He needs to clear his mind and just do the same again. Our first heat leader by 1/100th of a second.
488 he had in the first run. He's going to need to do that because Gaitiukevich just had a 482. Okay, so he's got that. What's the velocity? 7th best velocity. He's going to have to drive into this medal. This is Gaitiukevich's right now.
Gaitiukevich had the best velocity at the first speed track.
Now the question is, he better get on it. He's 1900s back. He might not even get a medal here.
Second best speed. He had mistakes in 2 and 3. Another tap there.
When was the last time the British won, Martin? Can you tell me?
1986 Cortina.
Who was that?
Oh, this is smooth, Nick Phipps. Second best speed, but is it going to be enough? How close is he at the line? It's silver, it's gold for Gaitiukevich. Silver for Brad Hall, but Rostislav Gaitiukevich claims his first ever bobsleigh gold medal. Brad Hall takes a silver in the 2-man, his second 2-man silver medal. It was always going to be close. Brad Hall, the mistakes before corner 3 cost him the medal.
Well, the mistakes, and you got beat by 600s at the start. That's where he lost the medal. Look at him correct. That wasn't bad. He did pretty good, Martin. He was 1900s down up at the top of the track, drove it down to 10th, preserved his silver medal. Great result. The two guys that won, they're the 2 rising stars in 2-man bobsled. Really, really impressive seasons for both. There's Cipulis, the first ever USSR medal in sport.
This is the first Russian 2-man gold medal in World Cup bobsleigh since 2017.
Wow.
Yeah.
And who was that? I know the name.
Alexander Zubkov. Yeah.
It wasn't Zubkov. No, it's Alexander. No, it wasn't Zubkov. He was retired by then.
January 2011, Winterberg. I'm getting my years confused. The last British gold medal was in 86 Cortina.
Nick Phipps.
And it was Nick Phipps and Alan Kearns. Happy New Year, guys, and we get to come back and do it again tomorrow. But for today, on the left, Rostislav Gaitiukevich, on the right, Mikhail Mordasov. Gold medal winners here in Sigulda. Home ice for them, their second home, they're home from home, they know it well. So Brad Hall and Greg Cackett take silver. Benny Maier, Marcus Sammer, the bronze, just ahead of Justin Cripps, Ryan Sommer. Francesco Friedrich, Andreas Haas, ahead of Lochner and Krentz. And we wait for page 2 for Francesco Friedrich, 12th place. That's as low as he has been since November 2017 in any two-man race, World Cup, World Championships and Olympic Games. First time out of the top 2 since November 17. It is now January 1st, 2022. Well, what a great New Year's Day present he's given himself, Rostislav Gaitiukevich, right in there in the first heat and converted it to take gold in the second.
I got a little sentimental scene. Cipulis and Kleinbergs down there. He was the USSR's first Olympic medal. Of course, he was Latvian. To see him at the finish line, you know, I'm sure he has no problems with this.
No, none at all. He got the opportunity precisely because of his abilities to drive and the USSR's desire for medals. So Francesco Friedrich still leads, but he ended last night, undefeated in the calendar year. He's been defeated today. Rostislav Gaitiukevich moves up to second ahead of Cripps, Lochner, Hall and Hafer. Benny Maier up to 7th with Friedrich and Vogt in the top 10 as well. So all sorts of stories to write home about. But for Germany, 6th for Lochner, 10th for Hafer, 12th for Friedrich. Not a great day at the office. And those are the points as they stand in the two-man World Cup standings. And we will see some changes in national lineups in the next race weekend in Winterberg because of the IBS rankings. But tomorrow we return with more two-man action. The women's bobsled in the morning, 0900 local, 0700 GMT, 0200 Eastern. And the men back in action at the same time as today in the two-man in the afternoon. Don't expect to catch Francesco Friedrich napping a second day in a row. From John and me, from the crew, Happy New Year. See you tomorrow.